The first Monday of September, a day for backyard barbecues, a day for one last dip in the pool before summer's end. This is Labor Day for many Americans. But is this all there is to it? Is it just a day on the calendar sandwiched between summer's end and the start of school? Or is there something more to this day, something deeper, something often forgotten? The truth is, Labor Day has a story. It's a story of struggle, of solidarity, of ordinary people demanding better lives. It's a story that often gets lost amidst the sales and celebrations, but it's a story worth remembering, especially today. Many people don't know the history of Labor Day. They don't know about the long hours, the dangerous conditions, the fight for basic rights. So as we fire up the grill and enjoy the last days of summer, let's take a moment to remember what Labor Day is truly about. The story of Labor Day begins not in a fancy hall of Congress but on the streets of New York City. It was 1882, a time when the average worker faced a brutal reality. 12-hour days, 7-day weeks, dangerous conditions, child labor was rampant. Unions were just starting to organize, a flicker of resistance against a system that seemed as immovable as the factories themselves. In the midst of this, a group of workers had an idea. They wanted a day to celebrate the contributions of working people, a day to show their strength and solidarity. Thus, the first Labor Day was born. On September 5, 1882, thousands of workers marched through the streets of Manhattan. They carried banners demanding shorter hours and safer conditions. To understand Labor Day, we must step back in time. We must transport ourselves to the late 19th century, a time of rapid industrialization and immense social change. Factories were springing up across the nation, churning out goods at an unprecedented rate. But this progress came at a steep price, paid for by the sweat and toil of millions of workers. The conditions in many factories were appalling. Long hours were the norm, often 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Safety regulations were practically non-existent. Workers toiled in cramped, poorly ventilated spaces, breathing in dangerous fumes and facing the constant threat of injury. And for all this, they received meager wages, barely enough to keep their families afloat. Child labor was a common sight. Children as young as 6 or 7 worked alongside adults, their small bodies subjected to the same harsh conditions. They were denied education, robbed of their childhoods to fuel the insatiable appetite of industry. In this environment, unions emerged as a beacon of hope. In 1894, after years of activism and pressure from labor unions, Labor Day was finally declared a federal holiday. It was a hard-fought victory, a testament to the power of collective action, but the fight for workers' rights was far from over. The declaration of Labor Day as a federal holiday did not magically erase the struggles faced by working people. While government workers and many in the middle class enjoyed a paid day off, the reality for many laborers was starkly different. Many industries, especially those with less union representation, continued to operate on Labor Day. For those workers, there was no holiday, no reprieve from the daily grind. They were still expected to clock in, to keep the wheels of industry turning, even as the rest of the nation celebrated their contributions. This discrepancy highlights a fundamental truth about Labor Day. It was, and continues to be, a day marked by its contradictions. It is a day meant to honor labor, but one where many laborers are still expected to work. Section 5. Whose holiday is it anyway? Disputes over Labor Day. The history of Labor Day is not without its controversies. Even the origin of the holiday itself is disputed. Some credit Peter J. McGuire, a carpenter union leader, with first proposing the idea. Others point to Matthew Maguire, a machinist, as the true originator. This debate, though seemingly trivial, reveals a deeper tension within the labor movement itself. From the outset, there were disagreements about how Labor Day should be observed. Some, like Maguire, envisioned a day of parades and picnics, a celebration of the dignity of labor. Others, particularly those influenced by socialist and anarchist ideologies, saw Labor Day as an opportunity for more radical action, a day for strikes and protests to demand systemic change. This tension between reform and revolution played out in the streets and in the halls of power. As Labor Day gained mainstream acceptance, its more radical roots were often downplayed. The focus shifted away from labor's demands and towards a more sanitized celebration of work itself. Section 6. The Price of Progress. Labor Day in the Modern Age. As we stand in the 21st century, it's worth asking, What has Labor Day become? The factories of the 19th century have largely been replaced by office towers and server farms. The nature of work has changed, but the fundamental issues of fairness and dignity remain. Globalization and automation have brought new challenges to the workplace. Jobs are outsourced, wages stagnate, and the gig economy creates a workforce that is increasingly precarious and insecure. The COVID-19 pandemic further exposed the vulnerabilities of many workers, particularly those in essential but low-wage jobs. In this new landscape, Labor Day takes on a renewed urgency. The issues that fueled the labor movement of the past, unsafe working conditions, unfair wages, lack of benefits, are still present, manifesting in new and often more insidious ways. The fight for a living wage, for affordable health care, for paid sick leave, for the right to organize, these are the issues that define Labor Day in the 21st century. As we enjoy the fruits of labor, the conveniences, the technologies, the abundance that surrounds us, let us not forget the human cost. Section 7. The Forgotten Laborers, Recognizing the Invisible Workforce. While we celebrate Labor Day, it's easy to overlook the vast, often invisible workforce that keeps our society running. The farm workers who harvest our food, the delivery drivers who bring packages to our doorsteps, the home healthcare aides who care for our elderly. These are the unsung heroes of our economy. These workers, often immigrants, people of color, and women, face some of the most challenging working conditions. They are often denied basic protections such as sick leave and healthcare. They are vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. Their labor is essential, yet they are often treated as disposable. On this Labor Day, let us take a moment to acknowledge the contributions of these invisible laborers. Section 8. The Power of Collective Action. Lessons from Labor Day's past. Labor Day stands as a powerful reminder of what ordinary people can achieve when they come together in solidarity. The labor movement of the late 19th and early 20th centuries was built on the backs of workers who risked their jobs, their livelihoods, even their lives to fight for a better future. They faced down powerful corporations, endured brutal police crackdowns, and overcame countless obstacles to win basic rights and protections that we often take for granted today. The 8-hour workday, the weekend, workplace safety regulations, the right to form a union. These victories were not gifts from benevolent employers or politicians. They were hard-won through decades of collective action, through strikes, boycotts, protests, and countless acts of courage and sacrifice. The lessons of Labor Day's past are as relevant today as they were a century ago. Section 9. Reclaiming the Spirit, How to Honor Labor Day Today. Labor Day is more than just a day off. It's a call to action. It's a day to remember the struggles of the past and to recommit ourselves to the fight for economic justice in the present. But how can we truly honor the spirit of Labor Day in our own lives? One way is to educate ourselves and others about the history of the labor movement. Read books, watch documentaries, have conversations about the struggles and triumphs of working people throughout history. Understand the forces that are working to erode workers' rights today. Support organizations that are fighting for workers' rights. Whether it's a local union, a workers' center, or a national advocacy group, there are countless organizations doing vital work to improve the lives of working people. Donate your time, your money, or your voice to support their efforts. Be a conscious consumer. Pay attention to where the products you buy come from. Section 10. Beyond the Barbecue, a Call to Action. As the aroma of barbecue fills the air and the sounds of laughter echo from backyards across the nation, let us not forget the true meaning of Labor Day. It's not just about the end of summer or the start of a new school year. It's about the dignity of work, the struggle for economic justice, and the power of collective action. Labor Day is a call to action. It's a reminder that the fight for a more just and equitable society is far from over. It's a day to reflect on the sacrifices of those who came before us and to recommit ourselves to the struggle for a better future. So yes, enjoy the barbecue, spend time with loved ones, but don't let the festivities overshadow the deeper meaning of this day. Section 11. Labor Day, a legacy worth preserving. As the sun sets on another Labor Day, let us carry the spirit of this day forward into the year ahead. Let us remember the struggles and triumphs of the labor movement and draw inspiration from the courage and solidarity of those who came before us. The fight for workers' rights is a never-ending struggle. It requires constant vigilance, unwavering commitment, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. But it is a fight worth fighting, for it is a fight for the very soul of our nation.